Hello, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we are going to be taking a look at the O-Level English Language Paper 1 Writing, May-June 2020, Variant 1-1. This paper is divided in two sections. We have Section 1 and Section 2. For Section 1, we must answer Question 1 because it is the only question of that section. And in Section 2, we need to choose one question to answer. Let's get started. Oh, and by the way, the total marks for this paper is 60, and all questions are worth equal marks. So this means that you have 30 marks that are allocated to Section 1 and 30 marks that will be allocated to Section 2. I'll just write down. Okay, let us begin with Section 1. Section 1, the theme is directed writing. You are advised to write between 200 and 300 words for this question. Total marks is 30. You will be awarded up to 15 marks for following the task instructions, so meeting all the requirements. And we could also be given up to 15 marks for the language that we would use if we are to answer the question. Okay, let's take a look at the question. Your uncle and aunt own a shop which is busy and successful. You sometimes help in the shop during your holidays. Your English teacher asks you to make a speech to your class about the shop and your experience working there. If you've been watching my videos, you know that when I have questions, I like to underline what is being required. And usually in blue, I underline the topic of the question, and in black, the main topic, I should say, and in black, I would underline any additional requirements or instructions that I must follow that is additional to the main topic. So here, the main topic of this question is that you have an aunt and an uncle that own a shop. The shop is busy and successful, and you sometimes help in the shop during your holidays. Okay, so it's very important to really remember that it is busy, successful, and that you help out during the holidays. So not just any regular day, during the holidays. And you are being asked to make a speech to your class about your experience working at the shop, and also describing the shop a little bit and how it works over there. And here there are additional requirements as well that are listed in these bullet points. You must include the following: what kind of shop is it, and what do you do there? Why is the shop so busy and successful? Why is it a useful experience for you? Okay, so cover all 3 points above in detail. So they're specifically asking you to be very detailed in your answer. You should make your speech interesting and informative. Okay, and another thing is the speech should start with "Good morning, everyone." This one is an easy mark, right? Remember, follow the instructions. So I think if you start with "Good morning," that's probably 1 mark for you already. Okay, so let's take a look at the notes that I've made regarding. So here I wrote down the important parts. So speech, uncle and aunt own a shop. that is busy and you help during the holidays. First thing that we must figure out, what kind of shop do they own? So there are many different kinds of shops. You have a convenience shop, convenience store, which is just a corner store where they sell a whole bunch of things, everything and nothing. A souvenir shop, so do you live in a touristic region or on an island where there's a lot of tourists? So your aunt and your uncle own a souvenir shop. Is it a clothing shop? Is it a grocery shop? I think a good idea for this part here is to choose a kind of shop that is related to something that you like. So it could literally be any kind of shop. Second thing that you need to figure out, what do you do there? You work at the cash register, so do you check out people and help and make them pay for what they would like to leave the shop with? Do you clean the aisles? Do you do some stocking, sorting the merchandise? So do you put things in their place or fold the clothes or put the fruits and vegetables away? Do you hand out flyers and samples? So flyers and samples, for example, samples would be if they own an ice cream shop. So if they own an ice cream shop, do you have to walk around with a platter and be like, hi, try the sample, hi, try the sample? Or do you hand out flyers when people are coming inside? You say, hi, promotion, this is a promotion. Or I'm not sure if you've ever seen those people who, this would be a cool one. I think this would be pretty original if you choose to write about this specific task, which is the people who stand on the street with like a huge sign and they have to get people to come in the store. So you're dressed in a costume or something and you're like, whoop, whoop, come in, or, you know, the people who do that. So that would be pretty cool. Third thing, so now we just took care of these 2 points here. What kind of shop and what do you do there? Now let's look at, why is the shop busy and successful? Do they have unique products over there? Right? So if it's a souvenir shop, do they have maybe special rocks or something that are found in your area, or any kind of unique thing that is in your country or your town that people would pay a lot of money for? Is it also the only shop in the city? So do they have a monopoly? Monopoly means like you're the only seller of that product. So if it's a grocery shop, is it the only grocery shop in the whole entire city? That would be pretty crazy. That's an idea for you. And here, this idea comes from the fact that you work there during holidays. So when you work there, are there always holiday sales? So that's why a lot of people are coming in, especially if it's a gift shop, a souvenir shop. A lot of tourists may go traveling during the holidays, so that's why it's always busy. Okay, so think about that. And the last thing that you need to consider and highlight is, why is it a useful experience? You meet new people. So if it's a souvenir shop, you get some tourists that don't really live there, right? So do you get to meet cool people? Did you meet someone that you like there? And now you have a long distance relationship and you message that person on Facebook all the time. I don't know. That's an option. Discipline. So when you work there, do you have to wake up early and you have to go clean, get things ready? So is it teaching you how to be disciplined? Money, 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 of course, right? So does it give you a lot of good money when you work for your uncle and your aunt? So Maybe it gave you a lot of money and you can buy something that you like, so you found it useful. Communication as well. Maybe you're someone that's shy, but by doing whatever job you are doing, especially if you're handing out flyers, samples, or you're doing the dancing outside to get people in a costume, maybe that's helping you with communication and people skills, right? So all of these are very important points. And remember, another thing I want to mention is you can also mix and match. So a souvenir shop / a clothing shop, or a souvenir shop with a grocery shop at the back. So maybe that's why it's very busy, because it's 2 shops in one. Okay, and as well for the task that you do there, you can do more than one, or you can do one every other day of the week. Why is it busy? You can mix and match, right? It doesn't just have to be one of the reasons. That's where you get creative. And here I have little notes that you must respect. So you also must be very descriptive. And very descriptive means a lot of adjectives, which is why I am putting out every day some word of the days for you, and a lot of them are adjectives, just so that your vocabulary can become more rich. And I think it's very important for these kind of exams, the English exams, because they focus a lot on your language, right? Here, literally half of the marks are given to the language that you use. Choose a shop that you know well. Okay, informative as well. The marker is looking for you to be informative. So the best way to do that is to choose a shop that you know well. You can be inspired off a shop that you see on TV, a TV show that you watch, and just describe that shop, or maybe somewhere that you shop a lot yourself, or your mom's favorite store, your dad's favorite store. Maybe they own, your uncle and your aunt own, I work out a lot, so a Nike shop, who knows? I really like Nike, by the way. Explain how the shop works, procedures, etc. Because remember, over here it says informative, right? Interesting and informative. So you also, especially the informative part, you want to let people know how things work there. So do you have to come in and first clean up the aisles, or so the speech needs to include, move the camera. The speech needs to include how things work over there. That is what I have for question 1. And now let's move on to section 2. Section 2. Composition. Write on one of the following topics. At the beginning of your composition, put the number of the task you have chosen. Generic instructions. You are advised to write between 350 to 500 words. You will be awarded marks for accurate use of language and relevant content. So again, language shows up. The only way for me that I personally think you can improve English language is not only by reading in English, listening, watching shows or movies in English. A lot of practice as well. You have to memorize a few words, but in these exams, I notice you'll see that it's very repetitive. They're looking to see what level of English, sorry, what level of language English you use. So here we have question 2 to 6 divided in 3 sub little sections there. You have one question that's related to a descriptive text. You have 2 questions that are related to debating, so making arguments and supporting them. And you have 2 questions that are related to narration, so narratives. Let's start with number 2. Describe a very lively, noisy place you know and a very quiet one. Remember that you are describing the atmosphere and any people as well as the places. So here I need my blue marker. So lively, noisy place versus a quiet one. And they are asking you to focus on the atmosphere and the people, and as well as the places themselves. So the places being the quiet one and the noisy one. Let's take a look at the notes that I've made. Okay. Noisy place versus quiet place. And we have atmosphere, people, the places themselves. For atmosphere, I think of mood, I think of vibe, the overall setting. So how do you feel there? If you could describe the feeling that you get when you're there, how is it? Right? The people there, so their physical appearance, their mentality, their language. Do they use informal language, street language, slang, or formal language? Okay? And remember, these are very open-ended questions because they don't give you a specific noisy or a quiet place. They tell you to find it yourself. So you can basically come up with anything. So here, let's take a look at 2 examples that I have for you. So very extreme, I was thinking of a library versus a club. Okay, so a library and a club. And some of you, I'm sure most of you, yes, most of you have never been to clubs. Maybe a few of you have, but I'm sure that you've heard about them or you've maybe seen them on TV or read about them. So you can use your imagination for this. It's not that hard. So library versus clubs. And here, I should reverse these, but if you think of a library, you think maybe natural light. There's a lot of light, but if you think of a club, it's dark, right? So here you're describing the place. It's just light, so a lot of light, natural light, versus very dark. And some clubs, they have fluorescent lights, so all those neon colors and those projectors and whatnot. Second thing that you can mention is to describe the places. So you do have the fact that a library is quiet, silent, right? You can just to break away from this basic quiet place that they've already mentioned. So instead of saying silent, which is very close to just quiet, right? You can just say here, replace silence with whispers. Oops, I keep hitting my camera here. There you go, whispers. Excuse the horrible handwriting. And here you have noise, excitement, shouting. A lot of shouting, right? Because the music is loud. So the people can't hear each other well. They have to shout. Okay, and then at the club. Sorry, I wish I was a little more consistent and I just put everything about the club before the verses and then everything about the library after, or the other way around. But here I'm a little bit messy with the format. Sorry about that. So here I'm talking about first the clubs. Smells like alcohol, right? The atmosphere. Have the smell of alcohol versus the smell of old books at a library. And speaking about the people and their appearances, so at the club you have short skirts, short dresses, fancy shoes. People want to look good. They're there to have fun and meet new people, so they want to look their best. And at the libraries you have some sweaters. People are more comfortable, maybe sweatpants because they're sitting down and reading books. They want to be comfortable. Or you see some children as well who end up at the library with their pajamas, maybe. So here you really want to put some emphasis on the fact that at the club everyone's trying to look their best, and at the library they don't care about really looking their best. They just care about comfort, especially if they're studying, right? Okay. Last point, casual language, vulgar language. So at the club sometimes there's fights, so people are cursing at each other, they're yelling, they're using casual language too. And you could also say that they're slurring with their words because some people are drunk, so they can't even speak properly. So in that sense you would use gibberish. Right here, so we have gibberish. That's a G. So right there, this could help you win some language points. Gibberish, it just means, you know, when how babies talk, they're just like blah blah blah, you don't really understand what they're saying. So when people are drunk, sometimes they say gibberish. And at the library, people are polite, people are also formal with one another. So, hi, may you help me find this book? Or, hello, can I please check out this DVD? Or I don't know. But people there are more formal and polite than at a club. At least I would hope. Okay, that is the first idea. Okay, so when we're talking about the mood and the vibe, the lighting, how does the room look? Okay, the silence and the noise. So the library is very relaxing. Oops, sorry here. The library is very relaxing and quiet. The club is very noisy and there's a lot of energy. So it's fast-paced, but the library is more chill. The alcohol and the old books, so the smell is different. So the atmosphere at the library is very different than the atmosphere at a club. People as well, so we saw that the way they dress. We talked about the language as well. The mentality, I think it's not too clear. There's people who go to clubs and also go to libraries, so I don't think there's a clear, different mentality. Maybe you could talk about the mentality of the workers, because to work at a library, the people who work at libraries are probably different than people who work at the clubs. So you can think about that and speak on mentality. Here for an example, if you want one quickly, For mentality, you can say that the people who work at the club, you work at night. So it's people who are more nocturne, so they don't mind sleeping in the morning. People who work at libraries are closed at night. They usually open in the morning and close late afternoon. So there you go. People who are night owls. Night owls, it means people who don't sleep at night, because think of an owl sleeps during the day. So when someone is used to staying up all night, you call that person a night owl. Let's take a look at my example number 2. We have the street market versus the desert. And don't ask me where I got this from. It's very random. But I'm thinking if you travel somewhere, that place probably has a street market. Most places, at least, most countries do, cities. And then not every country has a desert. But I guess in this situation, think of Egypt specifically. Okay? So you have the Egyptian street markets and then the Egyptian desert. And yeah, so I wrote it here actually. You visit Egypt and spend the day at the market and the night in the desert. So the day activity is at the market and the night activity is in the desert. So in the market, you have people, right? People serving you food, if there's food stands. And in the desert, you have animals, interesting animals. You can talk about camels. Maybe there's camels that are where you are, or you took a camel to get to the campsite. You can talk about lizards or cactus plants that are there. The sand. Here in the street market, you usually have concrete, right? So the roads, that's what I mean by concrete. There's a lot of roads. You also have green plants, so you have trees, and depending in which country you are, it's maybe palm trees or other trees, right? In the desert, you don't have palm trees, you have some cactus, or you have, but you have a lot of sand, okay? And you can also talk about the wind, so that plays in with the atmosphere. The wind smells like food in a street market, and in the desert, the wind probably smells like it's very dry and also dusty, right? If you watched any of those action movies like The Mummy or whatever, you know that a lot of them usually have those scenes where there's a huge sandstorm and the wind just blows a whole bunch of sand and everyone's covered in sand. It's very dusty and gross. So yes, very different in the desert. Okay. So if we go back up here, oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, but it's pretty obvious that the street market is very loud. You have people saying, oh, buy this for this much money or that much money. Everyone's pretty loud. But in the desert, it's pretty quiet because there's not much in a desert. So that was for our example 2. The mood, the vibe, the setting in the desert and in the market's very different. Physical appearance as well. You could talk about people and animals. We look very, very different. Mentality as well. The language. The animals don't really say much unless you try to attack them. So here for language, you would focus more on street market, but you could also add a few details about animals and how they communicate. Usually animals, the language here, I guess, for animals, you can talk about people in the street market. It's more verbal because we use words, but animals communicate with their body right? Body language. So you can, for example, in the desert, say that the camel was kicking. So its body language was telling me that he was agitated, frustrated. Okay, so body language versus verbal and oral. So there you go. That's a little bit of brainstorming for question 2, the descriptive text. And of course, remember the limit, 350 to 500 words. Moving on to question 3. First impressions are nearly always wrong. Do you think this is true? Give reasons and examples to support your view. So the argument is the following. First impressions are nearly always wrong. In blue, of course. Additional things. You have to give reasons. You also have to give examples. Let's take a look at that. Let's begin with saying true. First impressions are nearly always wrong. True. 3 reasons why. People judge based on appearance. Okay? And here, an example, you can also make up examples. So these don't need to be examples that you personally experienced. So facts directly related to you, you can make them up. So people judge based on appearance. So here a quick example, you can say, you can talk about you meeting someone and based on how they look, you thought they were one way, but they ended up being the complete opposite. Or if you recall a popular TV show that you think maybe the marker would know or could recall themselves, or a more generic example, if you don't want to use a personal example, you would have to think of something that's general knowledge. Okay? Person may be having a bad day. Circumstances matter. That is true. Okay? So the second reason why first impressions are nearly always wrong is the circumstances matter. So are you meeting this person in a bad situation? For example, if you ever worked in customer service and you're speaking to someone on the phone, or let's say you work at a bank, okay? Let's say someone works at a bank and there's an angry customer that comes because their money, their card was stolen, their card was stolen, and they're coming in the bank and they're super upset because now they have no more money. Of course, it's a bad situation, so the person will probably not be on their best behavior. They're angry, they're upset, they're sad, so they might come in yelling. And you might tell yourself, oh, this person is so horrible, I could never deal with them or be around them on a normal day. Okay, but maybe if you met that person in a different circumstance, they would be very fun and laughing and cool. Okay, and it works the other way around actually as well. Another example is you can also use, if you meet someone, this happens a lot. If you watch any of the dating shows or The Bachelor or all of those love shows out here on TV, Netflix, you'll notice that people, when they're on the show, they're on a beautiful island and they love each other and they're so in love. But as soon as they get back home and it's back to normal life, they end up breaking up, or it's not as nice. So they met in a really extraordinary situation, and when they get back to reality, it's just not the same. So it goes both ways. A very negative situation versus a very, very positive circumstance. Next point is you can't make an accurate conclusion based on a single experiment, that is, encounter. So here is for all of you students who study statistics. If you studied statistics, I did a lot of statistics studies. One thing that you will learn is, the basic concept of a fluke. So you can't make an accurate conclusion on just one single experiment. If you just do it once, you need to do the same thing many, 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 many times. And then if there's the same outcome, then you're like, okay, this is the truth. So you can't really meet one person just once and then tell yourself, I've seen everything, I've seen all that they are, and this is what they are. It's hard to judge. Okay? So you can use that and refer to scientists and experiments. It's a little out there, but it's valid. Let's take a look at false. Our first impressions always wrong, nearly always wrong. If you say false, a reason why is your gut instincts are reliable. Okay, so gut instincts are reliable. That would be your argument. And your example could be animals often sense danger accurately. So in this example, we're talking about negative encounters. So if you meet someone for the first time and your gut tells you, this person seems a little bit bad, I should stay away. You have to trust your gut sometimes. And you can use the example, animals, they sense danger accurately. So you can also sense danger since we are mammals, right? Second point, if someone behaves negatively in a setting, in a setting where they should be on their best behavior, there is a problem. Okay? So I mean, if you're, for example, if you're at let's say a sacred temple, everybody, it's general knowledge, it's an unspoken rule that if you go to a sacred place, a temple, you have to be respectful, right? So imagine you go to a sacred place and somebody is just acting crazy and inappropriate. Then I think it's a little bit fair to say, okay, that person is interesting, right? So there are certain places where this could be definitely false, that a first impression would be wrong. If the person that you're meeting is related to a person that you already know, that's another strong point. Okay? So that is, the apple does not fall far from the tree. This is a strong point, a strong argument. Because let's say that you have, you have a teacher and your teacher is really, really mean or really unpleasant, or your teacher complains a lot, right? If your teacher is somebody that just naturally complains a lot, your teacher comes to class like, I'm so tired, my back hurts today, and they're just always complaining. And then one day you meet your teacher's kid and the kid as well is like, no, I don't want this, I don't want to eat this, and they're very bratty and they complain too, you'd be like, oh, I know where you got that. You got that from your mom or your dad. It's so when people are related to one another, you can trust the first impression a little, right? Because when you hang out with people so much, or when you're around people all the time, you kind of become like them. So it would make sense that the first impression would not be wrong. There you have it, 3 points. And I believe that here, actually, yes, so this is a good point to make for you here when studying. It says, do you think that it is true, right? Give reasons and examples to support your view. Your view, you only have to pick one. So you either pick true or false. And I think the easiest way, if you're looking for a very easy way out, then you pick true. I think it's much more easy for me personally to go true. But if you go with false, you might also surprise the marker, because I think that most people would probably go with true, logically. And there you have it. That was a brainstorming for question 3. Let's move on to question 4. There is too much pressure on people to follow fashion. Do you agree? Give reasons and examples to support your view. Oops. So first with the blue, the question is, there's too much pressure on people to follow fashion. Reasons, examples, your view. So your view, you have to pick a side. You have to give reasons for the side that you pick, and you have to back up those reasons with examples. Let's begin with true. Too much pressure to follow fashion. True, because of advertisements. If you're on YouTube a lot, you'll see that you get a lot of ads that advertise clothing. It's always in your face, right? And when something is always in your face, it's like eventually it gets inside your head, right? You can argue that it's some sort of brainwashing. You'll see the ad on YouTube, and then if you go on Facebook or Instagram and you follow popular people, or TikTok, I don't know what you guys use, but you'll see that the influencers are also paid by those advertising companies to just put all of that stuff in your face. And they'll also wear it. They'll be like, look at my cool new shoes that I got from this place. Here's my promo code, 50% off for you, go buy it. So it's just in your face. And of course, for people who follow influencers, you like them, so you kind of want to be like them in a sense, or you feel like you need to have similar things to what they have because you find them cool. So you're definitely influenced. You can also argue that this statement is true. Not the statement, but you can also be for this by arguing social status. So some brand name items are ugly, but they're considered high class or cool. Okay? And my best example for this, for the social status, a lot of people have mentioned it online, is you can use the example of Kanye West. You know, Kanye West is a pretty huge artist that is known around the world. Okay, so if you don't know, Kanye West has a clothing brand, and his clothing brand got a lot of critics because people say that he's selling things that homeless people wear, but for a lot of money, right? The Yeezy sandals or the shirts and stuff. So if you don't know that brand, it's called Yeezy. Google it. You'll see that a lot of the clothes, you're like, it doesn't look that, unique, or you can find similar things in other places, but he sells them for very expensive. And the reason why people buy them is because it's considered cool and high class, because it's, I could afford that. Even though some of the stuff is not that nice. Well, personally, for me, I don't find some of the stuff nice. There's like one shirt that has a bunch of holes, and it's over 300 American dollars. But anyway, so find any example like that. If you use Kanye West, that's cool, but anything that you can think about, a brand that their stuff is not super unique or cool, but that people just follow it because it's and want it because it's a trend. Okay? Other reason you can mention is school. Okay? Because some kids at school are considered cool, and those kids all have a certain style. Okay? So you can think of maybe at your school, if there's one thing that people wear a lot and it became a thing, a trend at your school, and everybody has to just wear that, and you may not really like it yourself, but you still end up buying it because you're like, oh, well, everyone's wearing it and I don't want to be the loser. Or maybe you have a little cousin that is bothering their parents to buy them something just because all their friends have it. So there's that pressure there. More specifically, it would be peer pressure. Use those examples. There you have it, the brainstorming for question 4. Let's take a look now at question 5. Write a story which includes the sentence, when they opened the jewelry box, they could not believe what was in it. I like this one. It's pretty interesting because with these you can always get really crazy. So write a story story of 300 to 500 words that begins with this sentence. Okay. When they opened the jewelry box, they could not believe what was in it. Let's look at my crazy ideas. Okay, so what was in it? That is what we need to figure out to build our story around that. So the first thing I thought about was, imagine you open a jewelry box that you found somewhere. Because another thing, it doesn't tell you where the jewelry box comes from, right? So you may have found it, someone may have given it to you. But here my first idea is you find it and you see that inside there's a blank check. This is the American way of writing check, and this is the Canadian English way, Britain way of writing check. Okay, I just use the the first way just because I wrote it first. But I usually write it this way personally myself. So a blank check. Okay? And if you don't know what a blank check is, a blank check is it's a check that is blank, but it's blank in the sense that let me see if I can draw it. Don't judge me on my drawing, okay? So usually the checks look like this. And you have like some sort of codes or whatever. And here there's like a box where you put the amount of money. And you have the person's information, just some like writing or whatever all over here. And here you have the person's signature. So a blank check is when the check is signed, because you need a signature to go deposit the check. Because when someone gives you a check, they give you the check, they have to sign it, right? For it to be valid. So a blank check literally means that they don't put a number. So you can choose any number that you want. So you can basically give yourself any amount of money, but the person must have that money to give you in the first place, right? But usually all the people who give other people blank checks, it means that they have a lot of money, so they don't care how much you take. So in this case, you could easily put $1 million. Or if you're me, you would put 1 billion. I'm joking. Okay, but you could add however many zeros you want. So that's the blank check. Okay? And here we're writing a story about they. So it's other people, it's not you, it's they. So first point is, what do they write on the check? So how much money do they give themselves? That's if they even decide to deposit the check. Because they can also decide to maybe rip it, but I mean, who would? But it would be very shocking, actually. I think if you write a story about a blank check and in the end, someone ends up ripping it and they don't get the money, I think that the marker would probably cry. Anybody would cry, because you just think, what? If I had that check, I would give myself so much money. Okay, so if you really want to make the marker go crazy, make someone rip the check, the blank check. Okay, so how much money do they write? Do they tell anyone? So does someone accidentally tell their parents? And you know, sometimes parents ruin everything. Because I don't know if growing up you had those parents that when you get gifts, they say, okay, give me the gift, I hold it for you, I'll hold it. And then you never see the gift anymore because they just kept it. So did someone tell family or other friends that it exists? Third point, does one of them steal the money? So keeps the check for themselves, okay? So is someone in the group pretty bad and tricks everyone else so that they can keep the money to themselves? So maybe to do that, you would say that someone says, oh, give me the check, I'll put it in my bank account, and then when it's in my bank account, I'll send all of you guys the money and we'll split it. But then the person does that and just ends up leaving forever or something. Second idea, similar to the blank check, but a little more restricted. So a huge diamond, since it is a jewelry box, right? So there's a huge diamond, like a really, really big diamond worth probably millions. Or very rare jewelry. So same thing, if you don't want to put diamond, if you know about any other rare rock jewelry, that could work as well. 3 points that derive from the idea are, first one, who does it belong to? So think about, is the box stolen? So here you have the second point. Did they steal it or find the jewelry box? Who does it belong to? What's the story behind this jewelry box and the rare item that it contains? Third point, what do you do with the rare treasure? Do you sell it? Do you go to a museum with it? Do you tell your parents? I think a very annoying ending, if you want to annoy the marker and make them a little mad, is you can say that you gave it to, like, if you give it to like a girlfriend or something, the marker would probably like be so annoyed. Are you kidding me? You have that huge rare thing and you just give it to like a high school crush or something, I don't know. Okay, or you give it to your mom. What do you do it? What do you do with it? Third idea, children find pictures of their mom kissing another man. This is my craziest idea for this question, I think. Very dramatic, okay? So it's actually your mom's jewelry box, not your mom. We're talking about they, okay? So it's their mom's jewelry box. And they find a picture of their mom kissing another man. So the mom thought that she could hide that inside the jewelry box. Do they confront their mom? Do they tell their dad? How do they feel? Did one of them already know? Okay, so this one is super dramatic. I think that if I was a marker and I saw this, I'd be like, oh, interesting. Pretty original, right? Because you would never think of finding a picture in a jewelry box of someone cheating on their husband. So these are my 3 interesting ideas if you were ever to get a question like this, question number 5. Now let's take a look at number 6. Write a story in which a train ticket plays an important part. In blue, story. Train ticket. I'm running out of ink here. Sorry. Train ticket plays the important part. Let's take a look at that. First thing that comes to mind, I think it's very obvious and a lot of people would go this route. So maybe this is not the question that would make you stand out. If you go this way with this idea, you lost the train ticket. Do you have to find it or do you have to buy another one? If you have to buy another one, do you have the money? Point number 2, you found out that someone, excuse me for this mistake. You found out that someone stole the ticket and you know who that person is. So this is a little bit interesting. Someone actually stole the ticket and you know who they are, so you have to find them. Third point, you get on the train illegally. Okay, so this would be interesting. So you lost the train ticket and you get on the train illegally. So the idea is to have to not get caught when the person who comes around to check the tickets gets to the cart that you're in. Or you could mix these 2 points together in a sense that, what if you memorized your seat for the train that was on the ticket? So you actually get in the train illegally. And when you're in the train, you go to where you're supposed to be and you actually see that someone is in that exact same seat. So it means that it's a stranger that stole your ticket and they're in the seat because you remember it and you got on illegally. So maybe the main story that's related to the train ticket is not so much that you lost it anymore, but now you're trying to steal it back from that person. You get it? It's a little bit messy, but basically you lose it, you get on the train illegally, you see that someone is sitting in the seat where you were supposed to be if you had the ticket, which means that they have your ticket. So you try to steal it back from them. Okay? Second thing that you can come up with regarding a train ticket is you want to return a train ticket. Was it very expensive? Maybe you were in first class and now you can't go anymore, so you're fighting with the train company to try to return it. Was it final sale? So it could be a little bit dramatic. You're trying to find ways to return it, get your money back, or try to sell it to other people. Okay, but the point of this idea is that you don't want the ticket anymore and you're trying to get rid of it however you can. Third idea, which this one, it's very creative. It'll take some imagination. You found a train ticket and you decide to go on an adventure. To go on an adventure. Make sure that you don't make mistakes like me when you're writing your exams. Okay? First point for that idea is maybe you're homeless. You could write a story from a homeless person point of view. So you're homeless and you don't have any way, you don't have anywhere to stay anyway. So finding a ticket and going on an adventure in a different city, it's cool. You just want to explore a new city, right? Because whether you sleep on the streets where you are versus sleeping on the streets somewhere else, pretty similar, right? Why not? You're on the streets anyway, so why not just go? Second point, where does the ticket lead? Do you want this to be a mystery, or do you want to let the reader know directly? Where is the homeless, or where are you going? Your character going? Or is it a surprise? You'll tell them at the end. Last point, do you know someone in the city that you're going to? And playing on this first point, being homeless, imagine that you're homeless and maybe your parents are in that city, or some family member moved there. So you're going there. Are you going to try to go stay with them? Maybe it's someone you used to know, a long lost friend, or someone you like. Who knows, right? If you want to make this a love story. But I think that this is a pretty cool idea. You find a train ticket and you're going on an adventure. There you have it. Brainstorming for question 6, which is just to write a story in which the train ticket plays an important part. All right. And my friends, we are done. The tips and tricks for paper 1 writing, May-June 2020, variant 1, O-level. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. I appreciate it more than you know. Feel free to leave a comment, like, subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. And I read all of the comments. You guys are waiting on more videos. I am going to get you more videos as soon as possible. I just want to make sure that I get some good content out there for you. So I'm also taking some time to make sure that whatever I share with you guys is of quality. And I'm also, of course, improving as we go. But all in all, thank you again. Really appreciate you. And I will see you in the next video.